I'm going to start with a story that I hear all the time from people who dabble in building their own workstations. You see a sleek, tiny box on a product page, it looks like it could replace a bulky desktop, and you think, great, I'll finally get a powerful machine that doesn't take up half my desk. Then you finally get it home, plug it in, and the performance feels underwhelming. The heat builds up, the fans become an unwanted background soundtrack, and the upgrade path is a nightmare. If you're anything like me, you want to avoid that disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So today we're diving into the ASUS NUC 15 Pro AI Mini PC. This is a mouthful, but the idea behind it is simple: a compact workstation that can handle serious AI workloads, heavy development environments, and the sort of multitasking that usually requires a full tower or a high-end laptop. The question is whether it lives up to the hype, especially when you compare it to the more traditional options you might already have on your desk. First off, let's talk about the footprint. The NUC 15 measures just a few inches on each side, roughly the size of a paperback novel. That makes it a perfect fit for a crowded desk, a small home office, or even a remote workspace where you only have a single spot to put a computer. If you've ever tried to arrange a tower PC under a cramped desk, you know the frustration of cable mess and limited airflow. Here, the entire system sits upright, and the ports are arranged on the back in a way that you can reach them without contorting yourself. You get two Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI 2.1 for an 8K display, a gigabit Ethernet jack, Wi-Fi 7, and a few USB-C and USB-A connections. For a developer who needs external monitors, fast storage, and occasional peripheral connections, that port selection is actually a big plus. It means you can hook up a 27-inch 4K monitor for coding, a USB-C external SSD for data, and still have a headset and a mouse plugged in without reaching for a hub. Now, performance. Under the hood you'll find an Intel Core i7-2400H 10 cores, 16 threads, capable of spiking up to 5.2 GHz. In everyday use, opening VS Code, running Docker containers, training small TensorFlow models, the machine feels snappy. The 32 GB of DDR5 RAM is a real game changer for anyone who works with multiple VMs or runs AI inference on the side. A 1 TB NVMe SSD means your projects load in seconds, and the 2.5mm drive bay offers an upgrade path if you ever need more storage. I tested it by opening 3 IDEs, a browser with 20 tabs, and a Jupyter notebook running a medium-sized model. The system never stalled, and the CPU kept its boost clocks for at least an hour before throttling down a bit. That's the kind of real-world multitasking most developers talk about. Cooling is where the mini PC gets a little tricky. ASUS advertises advanced dual fan cooling, and on paper that sounds solid. In practice, the fans are fairly quiet up to about 70 C, which is where the CPU stays while you're doing moderate workloads. When you push it harder, say, a full AI training loop that runs the GPU equivalent of a workstation for an hour, the fans spin up noticeably, reaching about 45 dB. It's not a scream, but it's a steady hum you'll hear if your desk is otherwise quiet. If you're planning a 24/7 server in a bedroom, that might be a distraction. That said, heat does stay in check, the device never crossed the 80 C mark in my tests, and the thermal design keeps the components within safe operating limits, which is reassuring for heavy workloads. One of the biggest selling points is the tool-free upgrade design. The NUC series has always touted pop-out modules, and the 15 Pro continues that tradition. You open a side panel, slide in the SSD, swap the RAM sticks, or add a second M.2 drive without needing a screwdriver. For a developer who likes to experiment with new storage setups, this is a genuine convenience. I swapped the pre-installed 1 TB SSD for a 2 TB drive in under 5 minutes. The only downside is that the internal space is still limited. You can't fit a full-size GPU or a large liquid cooling loop. If your workflow relies on discrete graphics for rendering or deep learning, you'll need an external GPU enclosure, which adds cost and takes up desk space. Speaking of graphics, the NUC 15 doesn't have a dedicated GPU. The integrated Intel Arc graphics are decent for office work, video playback, and light creative tasks like photo editing or basic 3D modeling. I edited 4K video footage using DaVinci Resolve, and the playback was smooth, but rendering took noticeably longer compared to a desktop with a mid-range RTX card. If your primary workload involves heavy GPU acceleration, high-resolution video rendering, large AI model training, or serious gaming, this mini PC will feel underpowered. In those cases, a traditional tower or a laptop with a dedicated GPU will still be the better.